everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another Dragalia Lost video. We're actually going to talk about our controller settings again. We're going to get that fine-tuned and we're going to make it the best experience possible. I've got it almost 95% functional, pretty close to darn perfect, and way better than I could ever do with tap controls. So big shout out to Alice in Discord, in Twitch, in all those other places. Super insanely helpful for getting this done, and I couldn't have done it without him, so thank you so much. This is really confusing, just as a heads up, and it takes a bit to get this working, but once you get this working, it is fantastic. This is going to be an updated version of my last controller guide, and we're going to start things off really simple here. We're going to go into the game settings. We're going to go all the way down to camera. We're going to turn them on then off again. Sometimes camera or settings in this game get really wonky, so if I ever find something acting weird, I turn them on and off. Even if it's already off and you want it off, sometimes you've got to do that. I've had times where I've had music muted like this and music was playing, so I had to turn it off then off it on again. Just as a heads up, that's one thing to keep in mind if you're having weird problems with this game. Next, I keep my dodge sensitivity at 3. That works for me. And I'm going to turn these off and on again. We want them at off at the end of it. From this point, we're going to go into a battle. Anything works here. I'm just going to go into a fortune because why not? So we're going to be using LD Player here. It's the best emulator for this game, bar none, that I've found so far. So really recommend you install this. I have it in the description below to one of my guides on getting this working. We're also going to set this up in 2 different ways. For those of you who haven't been watching, I have found a way to zoom out, and by me, I mean Alice has found a way to zoom out with my controller pretty flawlessly. We've also found a way, and by we, I mean Alice, to 4-strike aim. So we can now 4-strike aim all of our melee characters. We cannot aim our ranged yet. So I'm going to have 2 different settings here. The latter is going to be really confusing, and I'll have that at the end. And the other one is just for simplicity, no 4-striking because that's kind of difficult, but it's going to be there. Anyways, let's start this up. Just basically, we're going to go into here. We're going to go to keyboard mapping. We're going to make sure show mapping hints and show when app is started is checked off. We're going to go back into here, go to gamepad mapping, and we're going to do the same thing, make sure there's no check marks. Next, we're going to set up our buttons. And again, this is just the easy way to do it so far. We're going to click and drag all of these down here. I'm going to move that like that, and that like that. Then we're also going to put one more click right at the bottom, just a little above that skill, I would say. And positioning to these seems to matter, so keep that in mind. I'm also going to put stick disc down at the bottom. And I'm going to put view right beside it here, right at the top. And again, these 2 positions actually matter. Sometimes things go wonky without it, so keep that in mind. Keep them as close to what I have as possible. You can also set hotkeys for this and autoing and for menuing and for leaving, but I'll leave that for you to figure it out. It's really easy. So first things first is I set this bottom right here. This is going to be my attack button. I set that to X on my PS4 controller. I'm going to set my first skill to square. I'm going to set my second skill to triangle and my third skill to circle. I'm going to set my support move to R1, and I'm going to set my dragon to R2. From here, I'm just going to hit save, and this will show you we have this set up or so. This isn't going to work like this for you yet, but it should work like this after I'm done with you. And we also have our right movement skill, right joystick. And this should be dodging us right now, but we don't have our settings right, so that's step 2. So now that we have this going, we want to close it off here. And from here, we want to go into this folder here. We're going to find Changzi, and this is usually on your base PC area, whatever your base drive is. Sometimes they hide it on an SSD or an HD. They hide it somewhere. Just find this folder. It'll be there somewhere in a base directory. Go into DN Player EN, go into VMS, go into Customize Configs, and now we're at the folder we want. What I do is find the JMP folder. This is the important one here. And we want to right-click and edit it. And now that we have this open, we have a couple things to change. First off, let's type in Control F, which is fine, and we want to find sensitivity. We found sensitivity 5 here. That's not good enough. Let's switch it to 15. Next up, we want to do the exact same thing with radius. So we go to the top of our file and we hit search, and let's search for radius, and we have it at 1374 right now, or something similar. What I'm going to put that to is 300. That seems to work for me. It might not work for you. We need to test it out. So let's close that. Make sure we save here, hit close. Then we're going to go back to LD Player and open it up. And I'll see you in the stage we were just at. Okay, so we are back in game here. Now you should be able to do this just fine. Your controller should be 100% responsive. Everything is perfect. Love and life right now. It just feels so fluid. You should also be able to use your right analog stick. Just a little tap like this. If you can see, just a little tap and we do a roll. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Next up, to zoom here, what we do is, because you're gonna invariably accidentally do this, because if you do that together, you just randomly zoom in. By the way, submit a ticket to them asking them to lock zooming. If we can lock zooming, we can force strike perfectly, we can do everything perfectly. Just as a heads up, send in a ticket to allow them to lock it, because it's so frustrating. So the way I unzoom is I hold down a button like X, and then I just tap it a little bit like this. This is one way to do it. And we have another way set up where I just hold down R2 or just hold down anything and it zooms me in perfectly. So that is step 1. So next up for part 2, what you're going to get is you're going to get force striking, kind of, maybe, sometime, mostly, with melee characters. I know that's a lot of little stipulations there, but it's the best we can do for now. You're also going to be able to zoom out or zoom in if you want with your controller, so you don't have to do any wonky key presses. Just one key press and you can zoom out, no problem. We're also going to be able to get inputs into the window without actually being in the window itself, so that's also a super huge plus here. So if you're interested in that, just keep watching here and we'll get you through it. So what you're going to have to do is go to ds4windows.com. If you have a PlayStation 4 controller and you use it on your computer a lot, you might already be familiar with this. But if you're not, it looks like this, ds4windows.com. Hit download now right here. I will also link it in the description below, and get this installed. And from there, you want to open up your DS4 Windows. I'm going to pretend you've already got it installed here. You want to open it, and what I do, make sure you right-click Run as Admin. I find it doesn't work perfectly without that. That's a really, really, really big step to do here. And you're going to be prompted with some things. Just follow the prompts. Get it so your DS4 Windows does recognize your controller. This was really simple for me. I basically just hit Next and it was there. So keep that in mind. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Edit right here beside Selected Profile. And then I'm going to press the button I want to zoom out for me. So what I used was L2. So I'm going to click on L2 right over here. And then you can see I have F8 highlighted. What I'm going to do is click on F8, basically just a button you never use. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't know why I used F8, I just did. So I'm going to make sure F8 is what I'm doing and it's set there. I'm then going to hit Save Profile, that's important. And we are set. So we're going to go back into Edit here. Make sure it's purple because purple's the best color. Any other color is dumb. And that's that. That is good. Everything is A-okay. So step number 56,000 or whatever we're at right now, we're going to open our LD player again. Let's find it here. And we're going to go into the settings. We're going to go into shortcuts here, and we're going to go to zoom out. And zoom out should be that button you just hotkeyed it to, so mine is F8, and we're gonna hit save. From this point on, you can now attack, you can now move while you are not focused on the window. So you can see my mouse over here. I'm gonna click over here so I'm off, and you can see I can still move in, no problem. So this is great for times when you want to run your ship girls, but you don't want to be inside the window. That works perfectly. So next step, just to make sure everything is working fine, we want to go back into the game after this is going, zoom all the way in, and then just hold your L2 button. And it works mostly perfectly. It's not flawless, but it is there. I do attack sometimes when this happens. I'm not sure how to fix that. If anybody does, let me know. But in general, it's just a really easy way to do this. If you're in a cutscene, if you're in the middle of an attack move, if you're in the middle of something that can't move you, this is when I do this, just to make sure my zoom out works perfectly. So that is done. That is good. That is easy. Everything is great in this world. Next up is another one of the hard parts. So you need to move back into the other screen here, guys. I'm sorry, this is so confusing. It is what it is. And this is to set up your 4-strike. That was not the button I wanted to press. I hope that doesn't screw it up. So this is not to set up your 4-strike. You want to go back into the keybinds, and we're going to find that one keybind we used, and this is the keybind to auto-attack a bunch of stuff. We're going to click into it. What we're going to do, we're going to hold X, or the button you use to attack. It has to be that button or it's going to switch it. And then we're just going to tap on the left joystick, just like this. Just tap like that. And this is what you should see, A plus L at. And then we're going to hit save. And now after that's saved, we're going to close it. 56,000, and we'll go back right into the config area. We're going to open it up again, just like we did before. And now we're going to type radius again. We're going to find the one that has a first key and a second key. So see how there's values here for 256 and 266, whereas up here there's not a second key. The second key is the one we just set up, so you're looking for the one that has 2 of them here. And instead of 1779, what we're going to do is about 10,000. And again, we're still struggling with this, but this is what's working for us so far, instead of whatever we had. And we're going to hit save, close it up, and then we need to reopen again, and I will see you back into the game in just a second. Okay, so now we're back in the game. Now I'm going to show you how this works here. We're going to hold down the 4-strike, and then we can go like this, and we've got our 4-strike aiming no problem, kind of. So this is kind of confusing, and this is going to be frustrating to use for the first 100 times, if that's a number, but then you're going to get good at it, and it's going to be amazing. And also, because we can see that it's working, somebody might find a better way. So the way we do this is we hold down our attack button, charge our 4-strike, and then right as we let go of our attack button, we want to move our left analog stick and hold that down. So it's one fluid motion of letting go of your attack and moving the analog stick at the same time. And once you get good at it, this is what happens, and you can aim it. You can see I don't have my attack held down. I just have the analog stick, and I'm able to move it just perfectly like this. No problem. And then as soon as I let go of the analog stick, it does the 4-strike. This is not perfect, as you can see. Like if you screw it up, this is what happens, and you go like this, and then you're kind of frustrated. But if you don't screw it up, you've got perfect aiming completely. Unfortunately, Lily is kind of screwed here. We can try to do it with a ranged unit, and you can see it half works, but it doesn't work, and you can't really get it to aim. So I can't do it with ranged yet. I can't do it with an archer either. I don't think. I haven't actually tried, but all the melee seem to work. Like we can go to Ezzelith again here. Let's zoom back out. And Ezzelith works just fine. I can't see why anything else wouldn't. So there's that. So there you go. Those are all the things we figured out with this so far. I've tried to make it as fluent as possible, as fluid as possible is what I meant, but fluent works too. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, and I really hope you enjoy this with this controller because it's amazing what you can do with this, and I definitely foresee native controller support happening sometime in the future, and it will be so good, and I cannot wait for it. So wish list here, if anybody has fixes for 4-strike being better, if anybody has a better solution to zooming. We found out some solutions with macros and recording stuff like that, and hotkeys and auto hotkey and stuff, but that's just blurring the lines of the TOS, which I don't want to do. I want something in-game that we can do with the controller with just the general keypad. If anybody has any solutions, let me know. And that's about all I'm trying to figure out. Everything else seems to work flawlessly. So again, thank you so much for Alice for all of this stuff. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye now.